T8, who is that?
Yes. Hey. Hey.
Oh, that's you, Veronica.
Yes.
Ah, okay.
Oh, that's Bill Cooper right there on the little side thing there, isn't it? Behold a messenger. Is that? I mean, that's obviously not him, but I mean that's in memorial of him.
There you go. I left a message.
Welcome, Bridget.
Hi.
Hi, Bridget.
Hi, Bridget. I tried to call you last night or before.
Yeah, about two hours ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, my computer's been. I've been downloading too many images, so I just had to clean my computer. It's better now.
Cool. How are you?
I'm okay. How are you guys? Since yesterday, I was so tired last night. I was waking up, falling asleep.
Yeah, me too.
Is that a photo of you, Kari?
Yeah.
On your channel? You're a princess.
Oh, that's because I was in a wedding. It was in my sister's wedding.
Beautiful.
I had to thank you. I had to take advantage of the.
Yes.
And you're all prettied up.
We must.
We like to take the pictures, right, girls?
Thank you for your kind message, Veronica.
No worries, George. Meant every word of it.
Of that are so filled with filth. It's just how can
they're just satanic masses. They're just satanic masses. That's what they are.
Yeah, they really are too. The Olympics and all of that. I mean, it's like wow. But you know, you guys are the only ones that I can talk to and it makes sense to. So it's really kind of sad.
The whole thing about the Olympics or the games, if you like, because I know that the Romans didn't invent the Olympics, but the games like that they used to have at the Colosseum and all that.
That's right.
They were just spectacles to keep the masses amused and give them something to get excited about.
If you read the protocols of the Elders of Zion, obviously we know that it wasn't written by Zionism, it was written by the hand of the Jesuits, but in those protocols, they talk about keeping the masses amused with amusements.
Yes.
And that's what they do.
It's like in the old
keep people entertained, all of these keep entertained with all of these horrific, demonic, violent Hollywood films full of, occult symbolism. And that, obviously people don't know that, but what they're doing also is they're just distracting and, keeping people locked in a system where they're constantly seeking amusement through satellite films and Hollywood films.
Look at all the sports, Alan.
It dumbs them down.
The NFL and the NBA and all that stuff in the United States. People are going to war for their team.
Yeah.
These crazy idiots. But that's just the same like it was in the old Rome. Bread and games, it was called.
Yeah.
Give them bread so they don't hunger.
Yeah.
And give them games to distract. There was once a senator in the old Rome who said, we have so many slaves, and to better identify them, we should give them a white knob on the arm, so that we can easily identify the slaves. And another senator said, I wouldn't do that, because when they realize how many they are, we have a revolution. and then some time ago in Germany, a guy with his YouTube channel came up to that idea and said, I'm going to put a white knob, a white button on my collar and go out like this. And when we all do that, then we see how many people will realize that we are just slaves.
Well, that reminds me of something, George. If you look at the Nazi Germany, what Hitler done was he put the Star of Saturnalia upon the Jews, which was an insult. But then they put it on the Israeli flag, which is not the Star of Rothschild, it's not the Star of David, it's not the Star of Solomon, it's the Star of the Saturnalian Brotherhood. That's their religion. Yeah. So Israel on the flag, you have it's obviously two triangles, and obviously it really means as above, so below. It's a demonic Saturnalian symbol, which is obviously on the back of the American dollar, and that's on the Israeli flag. But like you say, that's what they do, and so that's a really,
that there are a lot of people who want to make a statue from Hitler in Israel as founder of Israel. They want to thank him for that, because without Hitler and his doing in the Second World War, there wouldn't be Israel today.
Well, that's right, and the Israeli government, the Israeli leaders at that time were working with the Vatican, they're working with the Crown Empire, but they're working with the Rothschilds, and the Rothschilds really funded the settlements. They were the ones that opened up the way in Palestine at the same time that the Balfour Agreement was made, and the British Empire, obviously after that, the Second World War, they opened up Israel.
Rothschild started buying up land in Israel in in the 19th century, like the mid to late 19th century.
They started this migration about 1880, yeah?
Well, that's right. I mean, Hertz, he was the one that actually started the Zionist movement. You know, he was the founder of that, and he had support from the British Empire, support from the Rothschilds. But the Rothschilds they're always used by the Jesuits because they were there at the creation of the Illuminati with Adam Weishaupt, and then you see them there at the creation of Israel. And they are the ones that they say they are Jews, but they are not. And, you know, they are the synagogue of Satan. They are the ones that are, you know, actually working with the Vatican. The Rothschilds they've got two Vatican knighthoods. Well, the first one is the Order of the British Empire. So the second one is Knights of Malta, the Knights of St. John. And if you go to the Israeli court, you see the symbolism all over there. That was designed by the Rothschilds. They were very strict that, you know, they only could design that court in Israel. And you see the Illuminati pyramid with the circle and all-seeing eye, and you see the cross of the Templars in the garden. It's full of, you know, Jesuit Babylonian symbols. Yeah.
I don't know if you guys are aware of this, but Rothschild is just a taken name. The usual name of the family of Rothschild, the founder, Meyer Amschel, his name was Meyer Amschel Bauer.
Yeah.
Yep.
He was a German. He lived in the Judengasse, that is the Jew street in Frankfurt.
Yeah.
So,
the name
Meyer
Rothschild,
Amschel Bauer is a German name.
The name Rothschild itself
and they took the name Rothschild because the red shield that he placed upon his
correct.
Upon his working place, because he was a goldsmith. And
then
he took the Rothschild name.
Yeah. The red shield, obviously Rothschilds, I was just going to say that, well said, Jog, that red shield actually is a symbol for the Knights of St. John. You know, they're Knights of Malta. That's why they're called red shield. That's what the shield is on the Knights of Malta. So that's who they are. You know, they're Vatican Knights. And what they do is they work with the papal bloodlines. They just launder money. They move money around. That revelation was brought out. I've got a book by David Yallop. It's about the assassination or the death of John Paul I, who was assassinated, you know, before John Paul II after 33 days in office. And, you know, some of these books, a lot of it is disinformation, but you will always find buried into the book, you know, some good leads for research. And one of them, you know, near the end of the book, described how the Rothschilds were connected to the P2 scandal, and they were moving money around for P2, the Masonic organization. And so the Rothschilds are obviously not the ones that rule the banking system. The only reason they're mentioned so much is because, as I've said, they are Jews. And the Jesuits need to continually, you know, resurrect this dead theory that the Jews control the New World Order. So they do that. Same with Tex Mars. They always blame the Rothschilds. But you know, what they don't do is go into what Craig Oxley's done. Craig Oxley, you know, of Unhive Mind, he goes into papal bloodlines, like the Medicis, the Farneses, Breakspear, Orsini. They're the ones that are, you know, above the Rothschilds. That's the Roman papal nobility of Italy, you know?
Yeah, and the Vatican wants the Jews to be destroyed. So what better than put a Jew in the front to take all the blame for all this banking system stuff and all that stuff? You can't have any better, because all the people will just see, it's the Rothschild, it's the Zionists, it's the Jews, we have to fight the Jews. And that's just what the Vatican wants. The Vatican wants to exterminate all Protestants, especially from Germany and England, and all Jews. That's their goal.
And that's one thing I was saying on the broadcast, is the fact that, you know, obviously I didn't go too much into it in depth, but what I did say is that, you know, Israel is going to come under attack. That's the whole agenda. They want to bring the Jews back to the land. And, you know, the Knights Templar, the Jesuit order, which is who they are, they're revived Knights Templar. They want to go to Israel, start the building of the Masonic Third Jewish Hebrew Temple. But what they're going to do is they're going to bring Russia in with Islam, and, you know, they're going to attack, and there's going to be China. Obviously, that's Armageddon. But they're stirring up all of this anti-Semitism in Germany and all over the nations, really. So it's not just to blame the New World Order on the Jews. It's actually to bring hatred against, you know, them, because they are the chosen people of God. God gave them the covenants and the promises through Abraham. And, you know, I really do believe we must honour the Jews. I mean, I do. I'm for Israel.
I do too.
But,
I do.
Yeah, what I'm not for is this Vatican-controlled, you know, Jesuit Latin Kingdom of Jerusalem, which is what we have today. And even Ben-Gurion, he was working with the Vatican. The whole Zionist movement, from the very foundation of the State of Israel, it's always been controlled by the papacy, by Rome. And that's very clear. I won't go into it because everyone knows what I've said on that.
Well,
you know, Shaman.
Alan, I'm trying to make a little a chart though, and so could you just tell me is the Zionists, would you put them under? Because I've got the you know the general on top, of course, the Pope, then the Roman hierarchy, and the FBI and CIA under that, and then the government. Where would you put the Zionists under? Or on the same level as the Roman hierarchy, or?
I'd put them. Okay, well, I have done research on it. There's two organisations that control the Zionist movement. The first is the most powerful, which is the Jesuit order. That's clearly revealed. Barry Chamish was the one that brought it out. I didn't find out myself. I got it from Barry Chamish's research on his website. Excellent article a few years ago where he talks about Shimon Peres, who was trained by the Jesuits in Poland. But obviously, then you also see him go to the crown, and he was knighted by Queen Elizabeth into the order of St. Michael and St. George, which is it's a British order, obviously connected to the Order of the Bath. The Jesuits are in control of Israel at the top, but under that you also have the crown, which is the Crown Corporation of London. It's not the monarchy, because
that's above the Pope.
No, let me explain. Okay. I'll just say this first, because I was going to, explain that. The Crown opened up Israel through the Balfour Agreement, and they opened up the way, obviously, in Palestine for the Jews to come back. But you do find that, for instance, at the moment, let me explain the political situation. You have Shimon Peres under the power of the Jesuits. You also have Netanyahu, the Prime Minister. He's under the power of the Council on Foreign Relations in America. He goes many times to the White House. So there's many organizations that are, obviously, controlling Israel. You have the Vatican knighthoods, but just to answer your question, you have the Black Pope at the top, the Jesuit general, and his Jesuit provincials. They govern the nation. So Israel will be controlled by the Jesuit provincials, and under that, the third structure is the Vatican knighthoods. You have the Knights of Malta, but you have the Knights of the Equestrian Order, which people don't talk about enough as far as I'm concerned. You have the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, and the Equestrian Order is really, the one that controls the Temple Mount. And I was talking last night on the radio broadcast about the King Abdullah II. Everyone thinks that he has the deeds to the Dome of the Rock. He doesn't. That was signed over to him in 1993 by Shimon Peres in the Oslo Accord. So the Vatican rules the old city. It has total control over the Temple Mount right now. So it's just, people think that the Pope of Rome will come in and he will take over the temple and, place his abomination there 3.5 years in the Great Tribulation. Well, that will happen, but the papacy today does control already the old city of Jerusalem, and it's the truth. Mossad was a creation of the CIA. It's the Latin Kingdom of Jerusalem. That's what it was called during the Crusades, when we had the Knights of Malta, Knights of St. John, Templars, Equestrian Order. They called it the Latin Kingdom of Jerusalem then, so that's what it is now.
And the Hospitalis.
Yeah.
And that's the same as St. John, what are they?
Well, they name the order after John the Baptist. It's not like John the Apostle.
They
name it after John the Baptist.
Yeah, but I was just trying to think of because there's so many titles to their stupid group.
Yeah, and this is the establishment. That is the real world that controls the world, which is actually, you have so many
layers.
Levels to this. Obviously, that's why people get diverted to look at all of these different front groups. But you have the black nobility. That's the nobility bloodlines in Europe from which the Rothschilds came from. But they're always under the control of the monarchies. It's the same with the Vatican knighthoods. The Vatican, all you have to do is look at a chessboard. I was playing chess once with a friend of mine, Michael Malone, and I just stopped and looked at the board, and I was just like, wow. I just started getting revelation. I believe the Holy Spirit really just came on me, and I just began to look at this chessboard, and I could see the black and white squares, obviously the Masonic, squares, good and evil, so on. But I actually looked at the structure of the chessboard, and you have the kings, the queens, okay? And then you have the bishops, right? And then you have the knights, and then you have the pawns in the game, okay? Yeah, so you've got the monarchies and you've got the Vatican knighthoods that guard the monarchies, but they're under the power of the bishops. And so that's what happens, you know. It's the same with America. You look at Cardinal Edward Egan. He was the Archbishop of New York in control of the Bush bloodline. And today, you know, Cardinal Dolan, he's the, you know, Archbishop of New York now. So the bishops control the presidents. They control that structure, but they're under the monarchies. You know, the royal bloodlines do have more power than the presidents and the prime ministers.